I'm out here with some of my animals today, and a couple weeks ago I had a conversation with a new homesteader, and he was asking which animals are the most profitable to keep on the homestead. So we had a conversation about it, and today I would like to talk on here about the most profitable animals that we raise on our homestead. So this is more about saving money by doing it yourself versus raising your animals on a large scale for income. We ranked them by the money saved versus buying a similar product in the store locally here. And I went with the numbers that we've kept track of over the years and, the costs that we know we pay for feed right now. So this is going to vary with where you are, whether you have access to pasture year-round, whether you have to buy hay. It's going to vary with the breed of animals you raise. So there are definitely a lot of variables in here, and some of these animals you could make a lot more profitable than we do. This is just giving you a general idea, and this is the way that we do it. So for all these numbers, I'm going to assume that you have pasture for roughly half the year and you have to buy hay the rest of the year, because that's what we typically do here with our animals. I did not include vet bills in any of these because we hardly ever use a vet. The last time we had to use a vet was, let me think, I don't think it was even last year. It may have been the year before that when we did a worm test on our sheep because they were having some parasite issues. And I think that was like $20. Typically, we doctor our animals ourselves. It's pretty hard to run a profitable homestead if you are calling a vet for every little thing, so you really need to learn how to take care of your animals yourselves and then weigh the costs. I mean, if my horse is sick, that's obviously a more expensive investment, and I am more likely to call the vet for her than I would for a chicken that is worth $15. It doesn't make sense to pay $100 for a vet for a $15 chicken. We didn't include vaccines in any of these numbers because we don't vaccinate our animals. We do everything as close to organic as we can. I did include wormers. We actually have a homemade wormer recipe that's on our website, and I will try to remember to put a link to that down in the description box. So, getting into the list. Number 9 on here is honeybees. They are number 9 because they have a high startup cost and they're a huge learning curve. You're probably going to lose a lot of bees as you learn how to care for them. So the startup for bees, you're talking about $400 for a basic hive and colony, and that doesn't include a bee suit or the tools. The yearly cost, probably $10 a year. It's really not much. Once in a while you decide you need another tool or you need to replace a part or you have to feed them some sugar water or something, but especially if you're not doing the antibiotics, it's pretty low. So we put $10 a year on here. A good beehive can produce 1 to 3 gallons of honey. That's pretty typical. So for the numbers here, we went with 1.5 gallons of honey per hive at $45 a gallon equals $67.50 worth of honey per year. So at that cost, it takes 6 years to pay off your initial investment. Number 8 is laying ducks. Laying ducks eat more than chickens. They're more finicky about their laying. If everything is not just so and they aren't getting the exact right nutrients in their feed, they won't lay. So we keep Welsh Harlequins and Khaki Campbells that are, they're the 2 best purebred laying breeds. You can get hybrids that will lay better. Just a minute, I've got a camera problem here. So Welsh Harlequins and Khaki Campbells are supposed to lay 300 eggs a year. More realistically, we found they lay around 100. And we do keep ours out with our chickens, so they get the same 18% feed. They don't get a specialized duck feed. So the feed prices for them are $20 for 50 pounds of feed. That includes the 18% feed and the calcium. Startup for ducks, you're looking at $10 to $25 per duck, and then the infrastructure if you don't already have that. Yearly costs, a duck will eat roughly 1/3 of a pound of feed a day, so that's 121 pounds a year. At $20 a bag, that makes $45 a year in feed. We add $8 a year for replacements, so that comes to $53 per year per duck. And they produce around 100 eggs a year, so that's 8.3 dozen. And at those prices, they're costing us $6.35 a dozen, so that's pretty high. In our area, duck eggs go for around $8 a dozen, and I haven't seen anyone else offering non-GMO duck eggs, so ours are worth a little more than that. But going with the $8 a dozen price, we're saving 21% compared to buying them from someone else. Number 7 is the meat chicken. I'm going to be talking about hybrid meat chickens like the Cornish cross on here, because the heritage chickens cost a lot more to raise and they take a lot longer. Let's see. So I wanted to talk about pasturing versus confining them. Meat chickens that are on pasture actually will take more feed because they're getting exercise. They are healthier that way, but they do take more feed to raise, so that's something to be aware of. We really like using small chicken tractors that'll hold maybe 10 to 15 birds. So then we're confining them so they don't get the exercise, but they still have access to the fresh grass every day, and they can dig for bugs and worms and have a healthier, happier life. So the startup cost, you're talking $3 to $5 per chick, plus infrastructure if you don't already have it. The cost to raise a meat chick, roughly $4 per chick. And then a hybrid meat bird is going to take about 3 pounds of feed for every 1 pound of weight. So let's see, at $24 a bag of feed, that equals $8 of feed, equals $12 per bird to raise a 5-pound meat chicken. And different meat chickens can finish at different weights. You're talking anywhere from 2 to 15 pounds. I'm going with 5 pounds average for this. That's pretty typical for a hybrid Cornish cross. So for a 5-pound chicken, that's costing you $2.40 a pound to produce. Compared to in the store, a non-GMO meat chicken was $5 a pound. So that's 51% savings from buying it in the store. Next is laying chickens. They are probably the easiest thing to get into raising, and we really do enjoy our chickens. The non-GMO feed that we buy costs $18.50 a pound, plus a little bit for calcium. Startup for chickens, you're looking at $3 to $10 each if you buy them as chicks, and then you're going to have to put some feed into them to raise them. Or you can buy pullets that are older chicks. They don't need lights, and they're a lot closer to laying eggs. And they're going to run $15 to $25 each for the common breeds. And then you'll need infrastructure if you don't already have that. So the yearly costs for a laying hen, let's see, they'll eat 1/4 pound of food a day. So that's 90 pounds of feed per year, plus the calcium, equals about $35 at the $18.50 price. And then I add $5 per year to replace your hens every few years. So that equals $40 per year to keep a laying hen. A good laying breed will lay 240 eggs per year. So that's 20 dozen. And at that price, it costs you $2 per dozen. In my local store, non-GMO eggs are $5 a dozen, and they don't always have them. But the $5 a dozen, that would be a 60% savings by raising it yourself. Number 5 is lamb. We have found that buying lambs or pricing out the cost of feeding the ewes through the winter is going to be similar. So if you have a good source for lambs, it makes sense to just buy a lamb and not have to go through the trouble of caring for cheap all winter long. If you buy a lamb in the spring, then you can butcher it in the fall and be done. You can price that out for your area. There's a huge price variable in the cost of a lamb. We actually pay $50 per lamb from the same people every year. Some people charge $300 or $400 for a lamb. So you can shop around and see what's available in your area and compare that to the price of hay to see which option makes more sense for you. We also go with a wool breed. I do spin a little bit, but we've also found that we can shear the sheep right before a butcher and sell the wool. So I typically get $25 or $30 for each fleece from these lambs, and at that price, that takes off about $1 per pound of meat. Predators and parasites are going to be the biggest issues with raising lambs. Otherwise, they're pretty easy to take care of. So I put two prices on here for lambs. One is butchering them yourself, which is what we do. And the second price is taking them to a butcher, which is pretty expensive in our area. I would encourage you to check out these numbers. You can call around and see what your local butcher charges to see whether it's worth it to do it yourself or just take them in. And finally, lambs have a low yield of around 35 pounds for 100 pounds of live weight. So that's pretty low compared to like a turkey is 75 to 80% yield. We typically butcher our lambs at 6 months old. They're Icelandic sheep and they're probably 80 to 90 pounds live weight. So we get about 30 pounds of meat per lamb. So the startup cost, I went with $100 per lamb or $200 to $400 per ewe. Oops, we're having camera problems here again. If you're going to start a breeding flock, $200 to $400 per breeding ewe. Yearly cost, $100 per lamb, plus $10 worth of wormer. Since they're butchered in the fall, you don't have any feed costs, assuming you have access to pasture. Let's see. I might just have to hold this camera here. All right, so if you're going to have somebody butcher them for you, we're talking an additional $150-ish. So if you're getting a 30-pound yield, that comes to $366 per pound butchered yourself, or $866 per pound if you hire a butcher. In my local store, just a regular lamb averages $15 a pound, depending on the cut. So that's 76% less growing it myself and butchering it myself, or 43% less if I grow it myself and hire a butcher. Okay, number 4 is beef. Same as lambs, we've found that it's similar to buy a calf or feed a cow through the winter. Excuse me. Unlike lambs, the beef, you usually slaughter them at 1.5 years old, so you're going to feed them hay through one winter. Startup cost, you're talking $600 for a calf, or $1,000 to $2,000 for just an average cow, nothing special. The cost to raise a calf, you're going to have $600 for either the calf or hay to feed your mama cow through winter. 2 tons of hay at $200 equals $400 worth of hay. Worming, I put $20, so that comes to $1,020. If you hire a butcher, it's going to be at least $1.20 a pound. So for a 500-pound yield, you're looking at $600. So that would be $16.20 if you're hiring a butcher. So if you're getting a 500-pound yield, oh, I got a friend behind me here. You know I'm talking about cows? Don't worry, you're not going to get butchered. This is a future milk cow behind me here. So at 500 pounds yield, you're talking $2.04 per pound butchered yourself, or $3.24 per pound butchered professionally. Now she's trying to knock down my camera. In my local store, grass-fed beef is around $10 a pound, depending on the cut. So you're talking 79% less to raise it and butcher it yourself, or 68% less to raise it yourself and hire a butcher. Let's see if I can fix the camera here. Nope. All right, next is turkey. Turkeys are hard to raise. A lot of times we lose lots of our turkeys if the feed is not just right, if they get chilled. Sometimes you just find a turkey laying there with their head in an inch of water, and they've apparently drowned themselves in 1 inch of water. So that's something to factor in if you're going to raise turkeys. They're not something I'd recommend if you're brand new to farm animals. Start out with chickens or something a little easier before you try turkeys. One good thing about turkeys is that they can replace up to 25% of their diet with grass. So that's less that you have to feed them. Like meat chickens, if they're loose or have a wide area to run around in, they won't gain weight very fast and you'll have to put more feed into them. We found that chicken tractors work really well for raising turkeys as long as you can keep the predators out. So there's a big difference between the heritage breeds and the broad-breasted breeds. A heritage turkey will finish anywhere from like 8 pounds for a Royal Palm hen up to 25 pounds for a Holland White Tom. The heritage breeds typically take 4 pounds of feed to yield 1 pound of meat. The broad-breasted breeds take more like 2.5 pounds of feed to yield 1 pound of meat. You can butcher them small, or you can wait till they get up to 35 pounds or more. And like I said earlier, turkeys typically have a 75 to 80% yield from live weight to finished carcass. So the startup cost for turkeys, you're looking at $15-ish, plus the infrastructure. To raise a turkey, you're talking around $15 per poult. For a heritage turkey, 60 pounds of feed will get you about 15 pounds of meat. At $20 per bag, that equals $24. So that's $39 total to raise a 15-pound heritage turkey. For a broad-breasted turkey, you're talking 62 pounds of feed to raise 25 pounds of meat. So that's $40 total for a broad-breasted turkey. You're going to get anywhere from 8 to 25 pounds of meat for a heritage bird, anywhere from 12 to 35 pounds for a broad-breasted turkey. So a 15-pound heritage bird is going to cost about $2.60 a pound. A 25-pound broad-breasted turkey is going to cost around $1.60 a pound. For price comparison, my co-op carries non-GMO turkey for $8 a pound. So I'm saving 67% for a heritage turkey or 80% for a broad-breasted turkey. Number 2 is dairy goats. This is based on full-size dairy goats like Nubians, Alpine, Saanen, La Mancha, because those are the breeds that we've had. The biggest downside to any kind of dairy animal is the time commitment, but we have found that they produce more than any of our animals on the farm. They really earn their keep, and we come out ahead on them. Sometimes we don't come out ahead on other animals, especially if we have an accident, if a predator gets in and kills some of them, or we have a health problem that comes up. So startup for dairy goats, $100 to $400 for a goat. Your yearly costs are going to be roughly 3/4 of a ton of hay. At $200 a ton, that comes to $150 a year. Grain based on 1 pound per day times the 6 months of the year that they're in milk comes to 180 pounds at $16 per bag. Let's see, I added that equals $57. So I added $10 for worming, $50 for breeding costs, for a total of $267 a year to keep a dairy goat. You're going to be getting 1 to 4 kids every year. And my Nubian averages about half a gallon of milk per day, more in the spring and then less in the fall. So times 180 days that she's in milk, that's around 90 gallons of goat milk per year. So if you sell 2 kids at $100, that brings your net cost down to $67 a year. If you're getting 90 gallons of milk, then that comes to 74 cents per gallon. In my local store, just regular non-organic goat milk is $23 per gallon, so I am saving 97%. Number 1 on the list is the dairy cow. And the dairy cow is probably the biggest commitment because you have to be there twice a day at the same-ish time, pretty much the same exact time to milk. and it's going to take you 20 minutes or so to milk a cow by hand. But she really does earn her keep because the calf pays for most of the feed, so you're pretty much getting all that milk for free. Depending on the breed, you can get anywhere from 1.5 gallons of milk a day up to 15 gallons or more for a Holstein. The breeds that I've had are heritage breeds. Like my last cow was a Jersey Brown Swiss. This one behind me here is a Brown Swiss. So they'll give roughly 5 gallons of milk per day for 10 months out of the year. So that would be 1,500 gallons of milk per year. So startup cost, you're looking at $1,500 to $3,000 for a good cow. Yearly cost, 3 tons of hay at $200 a ton equals $600. 2 pounds of grain per day times the 300 days she's in milk equals 12 bags of grain at $15 per bag. That's $180. $100 in breeding cost, $50 for wormers and supplements. Sometimes I give different herbs to help them make more milk, like red raspberry leaf and nettle and kelp, things like that. So that comes to a total of $930 per year. You're going to be getting a calf, and depending on the breed, roughly 1,500 gallons of milk per year. If you sell the calf at $650, that brings your total cost down to, I guess it would be your net cost, down to $280. So that's 19 cents per gallon of milk. Compared to $8 per gallon for organic milk in the store, that's 97.6% savings. And actually, raw milk in my area is going for more than that. I just saw some advertised for $14 a gallon. So in that case, I'd be saving like 99% by raising it myself. All right, so I hope you found this video helpful. Those are the animals that we raise here on our homestead, and the dairy cow is the most productive of all.